Okay, folks, if you'd have your seat, for just a moment, Ryland will do his presentation on carving. But just prior to that, Don had one last item for sharing that he wanted to bring up.
Yeah, the Deltaville Model Boat Club, we're going to have a couple guys come in and demonstrate case making. January, or the second Thursday in January at 10, you can run from 10 to 12. I'll send an email out to everybody. He does acrylic cases. Show his technique. I think he's a gentleman that builds it for the museum. Another man's going to come in, and apparently there's going to be some soldering involved. But he does cases where it's more like stained glass, that type of thing. So he's going to show that technique too, and that'll be in February. So if anybody has the time and they want to come, you're more than welcome. We'd love to have the company up there. So I'll send an email out here in a week or so to let everybody know. Put that on your calendar if you're so interested.
All right, thank you, Don. All righty, Ryland, it's all yours now.
Okay, I want to start off by saying that I attended the Admiralty Models Workshop back in October. It was held in Annapolis, Maryland. There was about 18 of us there, and some members of the club were there: Hines, Henry, myself, Tom Ruggiero, Dave Chelmo, just to name a few. And online we had Kevin Kinney. He participated. It was given by David Athershall and Greg Herbert. So let me go on and get started. And in this presentation, I want to share with y'all some of the relief carving skills that I learned doing this workshop in Maryland. Like I said, it was led by David Athershall and Greg Herbert. Both of them are known for, I mean, they're master models, award winning. I think David won a gold medal at the 2000 ship model competition here at the Mariners Museum. And it was, they taught us the very basics. And when I say the basics, I mean, we learned, but there's so much more to learn when we walked away, but at least, we came out. But basically what they taught us was relief carving. And this type of carving creates a three-dimensional effect on the wood that you're carving. And it makes all kinds of small details, for your ship models. When you're trying to replicate what the ships had back in the 16th, 17th, 18th century, a lot of the, there were very ornaments, carvings on ships. So the master ship modelers back then recreated these when they were doing admiralty models and designing ships for the kings and queens and the other people. But things like figureheads, stern carvings, figures, some of the animals, and so forth, and they were all adorned the hulls and the superstructures of these ships. Again, it got the carvings of figureheads, raised scrollwork, and other ornaments. It displayed the name of the ship, the origin or the owner. It enhanced the ship's aesthetic appeal, and also they would put like animals and tigers and beasts on them that were carved and to try to intimidate the enemy. Admiralty models were the scale replicas of the ships that were being used to design for the real thing. They would present it, and basically they were used just as a selling tool to the Admiralty Council, and they would take and decide what they, if this was what they, the ship they wanted to build. So here, I just want to give you some examples of the carvings that were done in the past. Here are some pictures of a figurehead, very detailed. These pictures were taken up in the Rogers collection in Annapolis at the U.S. Naval Academy. Here's some stern carvings, a lot of detail work, and you can imagine back then they did a lot of this detail work, and we've got people now who are trying to recreate this. Yeah, that's another figurehead that was very detailed. These models here are several hundred years old that are on display in the museum at the Naval Academy. If you've never been up there, it is really a good trip to take.
You know if that's a one-piece carving or is that multiple pieces? See that?
It could be multiple pieces, yeah. But I mean, many of the models up there were just adorned with all of these carvings. Again, the sterns, you can look at all the details that were done. Oh, here's some more carvings of the stern. This one was, these were all encased, so that it's not as clear as it should be, but I see there's a ghost there of Chuck Pissarro. He's looking on. And I bet you in his library, he probably has hundreds of pictures of these models. He'll go out there. Okay, so I thought I'd start off with just going over the workshop itself. This is David Athershall. He's a master modeler. He's written many books on ship modeling. He has a 4-volume set of the Swan class where he details building a model of the Swan class ships. And Kevin Kinney is using his books in that model he was showing earlier. And he is one person, I've known him since 2008, that does not mind sharing what he knows. He's always wanting to help modelers. He's on Model Ship World. He's incognito, but a lot of people know him as Druxy. But he doesn't, he doesn't let people know that he is who he is, so to speak. But he helps out modelers. He also has worked with Model Shipways in designing a set of model ships or model kits for beginner modelers. He really wants to get people involved in the ship modeling. And he's just a super nice guy. He, along with Greg Herbert, Greg and David met here in 2000 at the Mariners Museum and became friends. In fact, David became Greg's mentor. And Greg has just developed into a super modeler. This is him up in class teaching us. Here are some of the participants. As you can see, everybody is working with their tools and doing really well. It's Tony Levine. She's chairperson of the NRG, the Nautical Research Guild. Again, Tony working very detailed. That's Tom Rogerio, myself, and Chuck. I think I finished my models, my carving. These two guys are still working on theirs, but for me there, I was just looking at them trying to figure out where to start. Because
look at the guy in the back there. What now?
Yeah, what did I get myself in?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is Ron Nielsen right here. Many of y'all know Ron from when you would go up to Philadelphia. He's with the Philadelphia Ship Model Society. He's a transplant. He was with the Connecticut Club, and he's the newsletter editor for the Philly Club. That does an excellent job. In fact, Gene was just talking about he had used, Ron makes water in his dioramas that he uses, and Gene used a lot of his techniques in his work. Both Tom and Ron are directors of the NRG. It's Chuck again, working on his carvings. And to see the work that Chuck does, you think, why is he even there for carving? But he was there to pick up more tips. Hard at work. It is nice. Yeah.
Just smoke.
Yeah. It's great.
Hey, I want that thing out. No pictures after 75.
Oh, really?
Very distinct.
Oh, that's me. I was always questioning, what am I doing? All right. So to get started with this technique, you need some tools. And the first thing was that you need a good source of light. And I purchased this little thing off of the internet. It was ideal. I've got it with me right here. It's a little USB thing, but it provides a bright light. And then I've got I've got a set of these dockyard tool chisels and gouges, and these little miniature tools. They range in size from like 1.5 millimeter to 5 millimeter, and you can buy individual pieces. You can buy a set. I actually started with a starter set that I had purchased from Joe McCleary's estate, and then I've added to it. But you can buy a complete set of just gouges, or it's so many combinations. At one time, I had heard that they had discontinued making these, but have since found out that there are several people that are, they are still in business, and you can buy them through eBay, Amazon, and then online. And then you need a good scalpel handle or hobby knife with a number 11 blade. I have switched to the scalpels because I think they're sharper. Some people like the hobby knife with the number 11 blade because this is a little bit thicker blade. These kind of flex, but they are sharp. And the replacement blades are really cheap. You can get 100 of these for around $7. I don't know. I guess when you put hobby on it, it runs the price up because I know you can go to Walmart or somewhere and get maybe 5 blades for $6 or $7. And but they're the tools. And then you need something to sharpen your tools. And this is a set I purchased on the internet, and I've got it with me. It, I think it's pretty good value. I don't know, because I had paid. I've got some other stones at home, and I paid $25 and $30 just for one stone. But this was a whole complete kit. So my next project, I just received this a few weeks ago, is I was sharpening the kitchen knives. But it includes everything you need. Real cheap set, came from China, but I think it's gonna work pretty good. Then this is a must with these little miniature dockyard tools. There's a company called the Carving Glove Guy, and he has this is a form that you can use to strop your tools to keep them sharp. It's a form that has all the shapes of your tools. And I've got that with you. I'm demonstrating here in a little bit as to how it works. But this is a very good investment when you got these tools because once you get them sharp, you can keep them honed and they will maintain their edges. And it's once you get the carving, you're constantly honing because these things dull after 5, 6, 8 cuts, and you definitely want a sharp tool to work with. And this is one of the most important things to have is the optimizer to kind of keep going. But all right, so let's get started with the basic cuts. First thing you got to make sure is before you do any cutting is that your tools are sharp. And make sure they're smooth. You don't want them ragged. You want them just the best shape you can get because you know, dull edge won't cut well, and it makes your job a lot harder when you're doing your work. And if you've got a dull tool, I don't know if any of y'all have experienced it, but you know, sometimes it takes a lot more force, and then once that piece of wood gives, you know, you can damage your tool or your project, or even hurt yourself. I think most people will attest that they've ever been cut with a knife, that it was probably a dull knife that they cut them.
Takes more stitches with a dull knife than it does a sharp knife.
Yeah, yeah. But a sharp, well-honed edge will make the cuts easier and cleaner.
That's frustrating.
All right. So, you know, we were taught 4 basic cuts. The first one you started with is the stop cut, and then you had the chip cut, and then we were making fish scales, and then we finished up with the gouge scoop cut. And so I will give you an example of all of them. The stop cut. A stop cut is a type of cut that prevents the tool from going too far. It gives it a defined edge or a boundary, I guess you would say, and it's you use your small chisel or your hobby knife or scalpel blade to make this cut. And you can see right here, you know, here's an example of a straight cut, and here's a round cut, arch cut. And so when you take and put your blade in, here's one right here that's, you just take a little wood, and when you push that blade in, a little chunk of wood would pop right at where you cut and stop. So it stops your blade from going.
What kind of wood are you using, Ralph?
What we were using in this seminar was boxwood, and I think we had some cherry also. It's a hardwood.
This is not boxwood.
I have no idea what this is. This is not my picture. So this is not from. Yeah, I'm just showing
Costello.
boxwood.
Ryland, can you go back and?
No, that's not right. That's what we use. We use they're the harder the wood, wall
Yeah, I can send you this
Yeah, let's
presentation.
it's for John. It's for the newsletter.
Oh, okay. All right, so here, this is the sample of a stop cut. And you can see that, you know, it limits the movement of your tool through the wood, and you kind of like just take it at an angle. Then we went into the chip cut. Chip is made using 2 cuts that create a V shape. And so you kind of go in, and then you just kind of chip it around, so it gives an angle. And if you'll notice, where this cut is made, you got a shadow, and that's what you're looking at, is that shadow. It's very important as we get into this. And then they had us make fish scales, practice this. These cuts are made, you know, in a diamond pattern. You make your stop cuts, bring them down, then across, and then you use the chip cut going in and chipping that out. And this was a cut that I liked. I used to work one of my gouges to make this type of cut, and you just arch and arch. And if you've ever seen the roof of some of the galleries on model ships, you see that it looks like shingles. And now this is a straight piece of wood, but by taking out, you know, using that chip type of a cut, it gives it a look of a layered look here. And that's what you're looking at. And then we practice using our gouges. Now, gouges, I think everybody here knows what a gouge is. It's a curved, has a curved cutting edge, and you gotta, it makes you, get used to using that tool. We did some curved figures, and then we did some straight cuts. And when you use the curved figure, sometimes it's easier just to turn the tool instead of moving your arm around it. It works there pretty good. So Chuck Pizarro, he had made a bunch of blanks for us to practice on, and I've got those here if y'all can look at them. The pieces that I've got were made of boxwood, and they had various designs, floral designs and arches and things. And they were made for us to try to use different types of carving techniques. And here are some of the blanks that he had made up for us. And these are laser cuts, so and what we did is, see right here, we took this piece out right here, and then we glued that piece on, and this became now a holder where we could put this piece in and it would work. And there were two pieces back, this first piece, this bottom piece, and then this top piece. And so we glued that piece on top, you know, a little thickness. And this is what it looks like in the holder. And the laser cutter actually kind of gave us some definition there as to where, you know, the stop cuts need to go into. And if you have those, a lot of people will draw out where they want the like this leaf right here to turn under itself, or, you know, just different things. But it's a lot of fun. And this is from the workshop, showing one of the pieces we were given. And here is, this is the back side of the piece, and it's, was done by Kevin Kinney, and he started taking out some of the relief of the wood, the edges, soften the edges of it. And this is with the top glued onto it. And you can see here, you got a gouge cut into here. You make a stop cut, then gouge through there. A little more. Okay. And this is what the piece is starting to look like. You know, he's worked it really well. And you might ask, why is he wearing a glove? Kevin, are you online still?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, I guess there's a reason glove, right?
The glove is to cover up the red stuff that was under it.
Well, that's good. But and Kevin, throughout this presentation, even when I go to do the actual workshop part, please chime in. Tom, you were at the seminar too. Feel free to chime in. You know, because I don't know everything about this. I'm just trying to relay what I learned.
You're doing pretty good.
Thank you. And here are some of Kevin's cuts. I think you saw them on the board he was showing. And he actually, cut these out using a coping saw, I guess you know, and a little skill saw. He drew these patterns out, and he didn't have the laser cutter doing this, but this was the start of what some of his work. And here is some of his work that he did there. And here's another one. All right, so this is the end of this part of the session. I want to thank Kevin for allowing me to use a lot of his photos that he took. He sent them out to everybody, and Kevin also started a carving group online with the members here, where everybody is sharing their skills and what they're working on, because I think Kevin can probably attest that practice makes perfect. I don't know how else to say it, but the more you practice, the better you will get at this. And I can see it in Kevin's work. I mean, what he was doing in October at the workshop, and then what he's doing now online. Of course, he hasn't been doing much shook modeling during this time, but it has really showed up. So, all right, any questions? Or yeah, Ron.
Smoothing the very delicate patterns once you've gotten them carved out. I'm trying to think, how do you get a piece of sandpaper in there? Has anyone ever used an air blaster? Like, it's like an airbrush, but you put, oxide or something in it and.
I don't know.
I wonder if that would work.
I don't even use sandpaper. I just sometimes scrape with the blade.
Scrape with a blade is what I've been doing.
That's good.
You also.
Well, the experts say you're not supposed to sand anything, but what do they know? I'm sanding everything. I use files. I use a little Dremel. I use a turbo carver. I use sandpaper rolled up in a little roll, which is really the most effective way of doing it. But I do try to get the 95% of the shape with the carving tool. And so if you do that, you only have a little bit left to take down.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
They also make,
Yeah, Gene, can you,
basically a coarse.
Can you talk about the grain,
Kind of
working
embedded,
with or against the grain of the wood? Or does a sharp blade kind of oversee it?
Pull it through, very small diameter.
the grain, Kevin,
Yeah, you have to be very careful of the grain. If you're carving against the grain, you're going to damage the piece.
yeah, you go in.
Yeah, you do need to know where the grain is. You can easily carve across the grain, but you don't want to carve against the grain.
This is gonna throw your knife into an entirely different direction.
That's correct.
We had several discussions about that, and Kevin's right on, because if you brought that up at the seminar, okay, David's response would be, well, if your tools are sharp enough, it won't make a difference. And okay, I understand, but yeah, no, you have to pay attention to the grain.
I have a question for the audience. In relief carving, you can give dimension to the piece by undercutting, meaning it looks more like it pops. Did you do a lot of that in the session, or because of the delicate nature of it, did you refrain from doing that?
Actually, one of the people at the seminar used to restore period furniture, full-size period furniture, 18th and 19th century furniture. And he introduced undercutting, and he undercut the works that he was working on. And after a discussion, his pieces looked very nice with the undercutting. So so that was discussed, not because it was part of the workshop, but because Eric Marshall, who restored period furniture, antique furniture, brought it up, and he actually demonstrated it.
Yeah, I tried a little of it, and it's another skill. It's just like doing the cut on the backside, but it does give it a more dimensional look. Okay, any other questions? All right.
Right, and I'll just give a few other things I've learned. And again, I think they should have really encouraged us to start carving bigger pieces than fine pieces that will fit on your model, because there is a technique to all these things, and it's really very hard to learn the technique on a micro piece. So when you looked at the pieces that I showed you earlier on, those are all significantly bigger pieces, and that allowed me to develop the skill of how you carve and how you shape things. The second thing is that the biggest challenge I've had is getting to think in 3 dimensions. We all tend to think in 1 dimension, but 3 dimensions really that's been my big struggle. And I'm almost past it now. And as soon as you make that leap, the carving really improves tremendously. So those are my 2 big takeaways.
Okay.
Right on, Kevin.
All right. Let me switch cameras here, and I'm going take a seat at the, let's see. Okay. You get this thing going here and see how this works. Ooh, light. Right. Justin, okay. All right. I'm in a workshop now and, well, no. Just destroyed the camera. I gotta get used to it. Sorry about this. I had everything all set out, but all right, the first thing you need is your optimizer. So that's it. I've got a cutting mat. And these are the tools that I'm going to be using. I've got my little dockyard tools, 2 millimeter, and they put protective tubes over these to protect so you don't mess the tool up or you don't accidentally cut yourself. And this is a 5 millimeter, so this is 3 millimeter. And these tools, they do come in handy. Here's a piece of one of my projects that I had done. You can see it's very small. And we even had ones that were smaller. So let's start off with the, we had talked about doing the stop cut. And basically, just a matter of going a line like that. And
Yeah, people are still kind of saying about it.
we want to make sure that my tools are sharp. And so I've got a leather hone right here, and I can put some compound on it. And so you want to take and draw the back edge across. It's flat. And as you can see, it's starting to turn color right here. It's actually taking off a little of the metal. But I can focus it.
Put your hand behind the tool like this.
But and before you get to the point where you're taking it and holding your tool, I do have this little form right here that is I got from the carving glove guy, and it's got all the shapes for the tools, and like for your 3 millimeter gouge, it would be like G3. I got some compound in here, and these tools are really sharp, and you want to take at about a 20-degree angle and pull that tool across, and you use the compound. It comes in, call it dockyard goop by the carving guy. Why it's having trouble focusing, but yeah, you would put that on there, and then you would pull your tool across, and you want to keep it, you don't want to turn your tool. If you do that, then you go round your edge off. So you keep it at a 20-degree angle. And if you had goop up here, you would just slide it across there and it would sharpen it up. But these are sharp, so I'm not going to sharpen them anymore. But all right. So once your tools are struck properly, then you can begin your carving. And on this one right here, you don't want to put your hand right here because you don't want to slip. So going against the grain right here, it stops. And I mean, this thing is just, you've almost got to feel it, but it is cutting really good. And apparently I don't have a stop cut. But
It's a really good blade.
that's working real good. And then, your gouge, you've got your gouge blades. Yeah, this is hardwood. It's just, these tools are really good. But, all right, so in these pieces, and I don't know how I'm doing this and not being looking.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Your carving, I haven't done any carving, of course, I filed a lot. I used to work. What you really want to do with a carving, with a piece of wood, you want to have it either in a vise or somewhere where it doesn't look. Then you can control the tool with both hands. One hand, you really have control. I mean, you obviously don't want to have the other hand in front of it. But the big thing is, you really should have some way of holding that bottom piece when you're working on it, so it doesn't move.
That's why I've got this in a holder.
Because if it moves, you're really dispersing all your force. Your whole control just goes down the drain.
I mean, this is cutting this wood now like butter. And you're just shaping and with it in a holder like this. I've got a line right here and what I'm doing is, and this is the inside cut, so you want this kind of rounded. You just want to take off a little bit of wood at a time, and then come back and just use your various tools. For flowers, find one here that you can use a gouge, and you want to give it like it's cupped.
Fingers.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. One little slip.
And it's giving it a three-dimensional effect here.
Cuss words.
Then you can use your scalpel knife to, just clean off the edges. And just keep working it.
There's some people that really use burrs, you can get super fine burrs.
Yeah, and then it even gets smaller right here on this.
Most of the over. But David Anshel, that guy, he is very good. He doesn't like that because he says it doesn't look quite the sharp edges. He gets from it.
All right, here's a piece that I did. And I'm just showing you the basics because, oh, I forgot my light here, my little light. This takes. Gives a lot of light. But here's a piece that I was carving for the model I'm working on right now. And it, again, this was. I don't know why it focuses. But this is, again, I used, mainly this was all used with a number 11 scalpel blade. And the backing on it is, see here, I was able to have the carrier from this laser cut piece to go in and use it as a backing. What I did on this one right here was I took a glue stick, just a regular Elmer's school glue stick, and coated this, and then glued this on, and it's holding the piece. And when I finish with this, what I'm going to do is take and put it in some alcohol and just let it set overnight. And it should release this piece from this hardwood backing that I've got. But this is basically it as far as what you need to do, and it just takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, and it is something that yeah, blood, sweat, and tears, I guess. The more you do, the better you'll get. And all. But Kevin, you got anything you want to add, or Kevin's muted? You're muted, Kevin. No, you muted.
Yeah, muted.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I have to unmute.
Free Kevin.
go to
I think you muted
individuals.
him and then he tried to unmute without realizing.
Kevin, you're muted.
There we go. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think you're going perfectly.
Just
You-
yeah, practice.
Yeah, you're following the same thing. I will just show you this little set of tools from Lee Valley that I got. And I use them all the time. They're really fantastic for taking the bulk work off. Because when you're starting to layer the pieces to get that three-dimensional look, you need a nice, sharp, small chisel. It's just going to take away the work. And this really does a fantastic job.
That's a nice set of chisels. That's and they're so small that people don't
And
think
they're
they're handy.
tiny. They fit perfectly in your hand. And I use them, I think I use them almost as much as the carving chisels.
Wow. Yeah, the Lee Valley makes some nice tools. Okay, well, I you know, I don't have anything else to do other than I can show you. This was part of that carving set that I bought on the internet. It's got a bamboo thing base, and then it's got a rubber thing that holds the stone, and it's got a 400 and 1,000. It I guess I'm giving a plug for it. got a 3,000 and 8,000 stone. And then it's got this nice stone here that takes and levels it, because once you start carving, it winds up, it create valleys and all, and then the other stuff works to smooth everything out. But and it included a couple of leather strops being used, and just had a pair of carving gloves to protect your fingers and all. But for a band, I mean, that's just the internet vibe, but it's there are better stones out there, I'm sure, and I'm sure you get what you pay for. But that's it for my carving. Again, this
I
is
can show you just a few little more sharpening things. These are diamonds, diamond plates, which are really fantastic. And it goes from 1,000 to 6,000. And that's what I use instead of stones. And then this little strop that he showed you, I use the entire surface. So when I'm sharpening a piece, I found that the technique is to come right along the entire surface. And I would say I do this literally every 5 minutes. And if you don't do it every 5 minutes, the tool will get dull, and then you'll have a real problem getting the surface back. So again, I think this is probably the most valuable tool that I got to go with the strops, with the tool.
when you're moving that tool across, you got to be very careful to keep your arm straight. You know, the
technique, and this is the technique.
Right.
And just keep it, and you'll be sharpening on the entire curved surface, a flat surface.
Right. And I know that you had, instead of a stone, didn't you take a block of wood and put 1,000 and 1,500 sandpaper?
Yep. Yeah, we have these that were made up. You can, if you don't want to spend any money, this is the cheapest block you can get. These are emery papers, which are just stuck onto a piece of plywood. So
Right.
this is 1,500 on one side, 1,200 on the other side, and this will work for a few months, and it costs nothing.
Okay, and it's a fun thing to do, but again, it takes practice. I mean, you spend hours. I know in our class, what I just went through, just those little bit, we spent 2.5 days doing it.
So just to show you, I did this piece when we were talking this morning, and while Ryland was talking, I started to work on the other one. This is a hardwood. This is a wood called juniper, and this is mahogany.
Good. All right. Well, I guess that ends the presentation, and I guess it ends the meeting.
Excellent presentation. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
This is the first time I've tried using a live, the camera here, and I bought that off the internet too. So it's a little, $20 tool with this swing arm basically for a camera holder, but it seems to work pretty good.
Well done, Ryland.
Thank you.
And Kevin.
All right. Yeah, Kevin, I appreciate your help on this. You really added to the presentation today, and I'm just glad you could join us for this meeting. Okay.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and everyone have a very Merry Christmas. And if you don't believe in that, happy holidays to you anyway. So,
Here, here.
so we will see you next month.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Next year.